Hello, everybody. It's Friday. That means it's time for another topic of the week. First things first, last week's topic on wargaming. Thanks. I was happy to see so many positive responses, so many people who shared my opinion that really the community that we have in wargaming is absolutely exceptional. And, to reiterate that once again, just from the open discussion, all the people, lots of people who mentioned other channels that have inspired them and other creators and all that sort of stuff. That is the best thing about this community, is that it is full of people just sharing their time to make the community better. And I am constantly in awe of everybody who shares their knowledge, their information, and just shows up. It's what makes this community great. So thank you all again, and thank you all for contributing to the conversation. This week's topic, I want to talk about the survey. So, of course, as you may or may not know, Games Workshop put up a community survey. Speaking of the community, and you can go there and you can fill it out, and there's a chance to win some like gift certificates for when you fill it out. £50, $80 in the U.S., $100 in other countries. I don't know, whatever. The point is that in addition to that, it takes about 15-20 minutes, and they ask you a bunch of questions. So I wanted to point this out because, one, it's interesting. I saw a lot of people sharing their funny responses on Twitter, which I suppose is fine. I don't care. Answer it however you want. I'm just not sure you're going to affect any real change by giving a joke answer. You're more or less inviting them to disregard you, but whatever you like. But the interesting thing is, what do you think? What I want to talk about is, one, have you taken the community survey? Two, what do you expect out of the community survey? So that's an important one. And three, there's two more. I've got a three and a four, but 3 and a 4 are what I really want to dig in on. So 3 is, what happens when what you want isn't what the community wants? So we talk a lot about the nature of wanting them to listen to people more, listen to the community more. And for the most part, Games Workshop has. There's been lots of ways that they've shown they can react. But, famously I saw a couple, like somebody on Twitter who mentioned that they wanted to see Bretonia brought back or whatever. Shout out to Matt on Twitter who said that. All right, well, what if there was a survey about that and 80% of the people said they don't want Bretonia to come back? What do you want them to do with the minority opinion? Because that's the very real thing. When you start sort of surveying, now I don't think by all means they're just going to set their policy over the next 3 years over this survey. But the reality is you might find out that some of the things you love, nobody else does. Or a minority does, and you're in it. Would you still hope that they did it or expect them to do it? How much should they go against their own interest once they have quantifiable data that says the thing you want is a bad idea, business-wise? This is always the challenge. When it's sort of creator-led, when it's sort of, there's a couple people making a decision, the squeaky wheel can sometimes get the grease. But if you're really, really, really strongly driven by what everybody wants, then what that really means is what the majority wants. And you very much have to be aware of the tyranny of the majority. I'm also immediately reminded of, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. I don't often think people really know what they want. Nonetheless, I'm excited about this survey, and I'll give you my own answer to the question, by the way. Which is, if I found out that some of the things I wanted I was in the minority on. Which, for the record, I think is most of the things I want. I think all the things that I like, I don't think a lot of other people would like. An easy example is on a recent show, we discussed the idea of, at the end of the end times, Archeon should have become a hero. There should have been a redemption story there. I don't think most people would have liked that. I think most people would have hated it. But I would have loved it. It's a little different because that's sort of narrative stuff, and I think in general you should have that be creator driven and not, you shouldn't write stories by democratic vote for the most part. But sort of, so like I'm used to that, I think, to a point, because I often like sort of unpopular things in this way. But it presents an interesting challenge. My hope is that they're able to find some areas of consensus amongst the all of us and get some good feedback. So I would say definitely go fill out that survey. Hey, you got a chance to win something. Why not? But here's my next question, and this is, so I'd love an answer to that one down in the comments, but I'd really love an answer to this one, which is their final question in the survey is sort of a variation of what's the one more thing we could do for you, right? Like, you could have anything, a sort of sky's the limit, one thing question. What's the one thing? So I want to know, what's your one thing? Because not everybody shared it on Twitter. But if Games Workshop could do one thing for you, like release one product, make one change, offer one app, doesn't matter, like whatever it is, what's the one thing? Assume it's mutually exclusive and that by choosing it, you don't get any of the rest. What's the one thing that wins? So there you go. Some people said, release certain armies. Some people said certain different ways to build, to sort of price armies and stuff like that. Not necessarily. Some people said, of course, lower your prices. But the more interesting one that I thought their take on that was build your own army bundles, which I've always loved the concept of. Like, I love when they do big army bundles, but I would love it if we could just sort of drag and drop army bundles together. I thought that was a fantastic idea. That was one that I saw somebody put out there that I thought was aces. The idea that I can just kind of go and like maybe fill slots, like here's my one monster kit or something like that, and I can pick an infantry kit. Right? There's a lot of different ways you could do it. I don't really want to prescribe exactly how it would go because who knows. But I think there could be some that would be super sweet. To just sort of kind of do these bundles. And by the way, obviously you would just get the individual boxes, but nice little bulk savings opportunity there. So, what's your one thing? That's what I want to know. So, there you go. Look forward to the discussion down below. As always, if you make a response video or talk about your interest, feedback, and feelings on this community survey, that video will be linked down below, along with last week's video, which is also right down there. And you can always refer back to that to see all the responses to that. So, as always, appreciate you watching. See you next time.